Welcome to the Breakthrough to Your Best Success online event. Join your host, Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, and the contributors from the Success Guidebook and other special guests to visualize, actualize, and amplify you and your best success. This conference will help you redefine success, transform your goals, embrace change, design and realize your best life, and much more.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Breakthrough to Your Best Success Conference. I'm Elizabeth, here with Liz Brunner. How are you, Liz?
I am well. I'm so happy to see you again. Thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth.
Bright, beautiful, smiling face there. I'm so proud to have you as a friend. I'm so proud to have you in the Success Guidebook. Mine's a little bit marked up here. Thank you so much for being here and so everybody listening, Liz is on page 165 of the book. She shares her story and she's in the sustain section, which I love. You want to start there?
I was honored to be asked to contribute to your book. So thank you again for that opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. The book has a lot of contributors. It's got 20 contributors in there. And you being in there was really special. You're one of the people I asked first and then kind of framed the book around. And so that was kind of fun. I'm like, okay, if she says yes, then I know I've got that. And then I can kind of work backwards from there and figure the rest out.
Oh, so that's how it all happened. Okay.
Yeah, you're kind of the first one. For second one, I think you actually were the first one because I know you well enough to say, hey, you want to be in my book, kind of thing. And it went from there. So anyway, thank you. What's new with you? Let's just start. I'm going to put the book down so I don't fumble with that the whole time. But what's going on with you? What's new?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that's new is I moved from where I was living a mile down the road to where I am right now. And it was a change after about 8 or 9 years, I think, that I was living in the other location. And I think all of us can admit to moving is one of the biggest stressors you have in your life.
No. Yeah.
But, sometimes you need to make those changes. Sometimes, and change is not easy and change gets harder as we get older. But I am really glad I made the change. It feels like a wonderful fresh start. I love my new location. I love my new condo. And so that's probably the biggest thing. And it's been really fun. And to have invited some friends over in recent weeks now that I've gotten settled and they walk in, they're like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm so happy for you. And that makes me happy that people are happy for me. And they say like, you deserve this. You've worked so hard, particularly all your life, all your career. And most recently, with your business over 10 years ago now when I started my business. So to have that opportunity has really been special.
Yeah, it's cool. Isn't that neat when change turns into success?
Yes.
I saw you do a post on LinkedIn about recreating and doing all these things. Change is a favorite topic of ours, everybody, if you're listening. We both talk about change and living your best life and being your best. We have that in common and have from the get-go. And I think we met on LinkedIn. I'm like, I got to know you, Liz.
Well, I was gonna say, you stalked me on LinkedIn, I think. I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, I did. I stalked her. Yeah, I really love your book. Do you have a copy of that anywhere handy?
I do. Hang on here a second. See, now I don't know if it's going to show because I'm in my book.
Right in front of you. Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
There you go. Out of the way. It's Dare to Own You, taking your authenticity and dreams into your next chapter. Perfect. And I know you're a big fan of Jack Canfield's, as am I, and he did the foreword for my book, which was a really big day when I got that email saying, thanks, you wrote a great book. Here's your foreword. I went, oh, wow. Yeah. So I know you love Jack too, but
I do. Yeah. And I think that was the way I met you too. I'm like, oh, Jack Canfield, we have him in common. You're a Jack Canfield person. So yeah, I am. I've got him memorized and I love his books and he's endorsed both of my books and
yes,
he makes you and I very happy with his graciousness. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, exactly.
and to stop and answer an email and say, great, he'll send me emails and say, great job with this, Elizabeth. And I'm like, wow, that's like a letter from God.
It is. It's like I should almost print it out because it's so exciting. Yeah. And if I may brag, the book also just got its 3rd award from the Book Excellence Awards for memoir. So I'm really touched by that. And Forbes continues to recommend it. And they call it a teaching memoir. And that truly has been my favorite description and definition of the book because it's so perfect for it.
Good. I love that. All right. So we're going to go back and talk about success a little bit more. I've been asking everybody the same 5 questions generally.
Generally.
Generally, we kind of go off and gab, but it's all right. Everybody knows the show and knows the conferences. So that's listening, they know our format years. Anyway, so the Success Guidebook examines success in a new and redefined way. How has your perspective of success and your pursuit of success evolved?
Well, I think it evolves for all of us. And whether it's by decade or whether it's just another chapter of your life, which is either 2 years or 20 years, I do believe that your perspective changes, and because your goals change. And I think if you're growing, then you're changing. And if you're changing, then those perspectives are also going to change. And that is what growth is about, is allowing yourself to make those changes, to stretch yourself, to grow. And, I started out as a high school music teacher. I'm a classically trained singer, and I sang semi-professionally and taught high school music. But there was something deep within my soul after a couple of years of teaching that made me think I was supposed to be doing something else. And so I left without knowing what I was going to do, got into retail because I had to pay the bills. And that's probably the one and only time that I actually went for a job because of money. And I remember my first teaching job out of college, which was that high school teaching job. I was making $12,000 a year. I thought that was a really big deal to me.
It is actually. I remember making it money.
But as I look back on my path, it really has never been about money when every single chapter changed, because I went from being a high school teacher to retail to a 28-year television career to now having my own business. And so with every one of those, I just have always felt organically deep within my soul, that was the next step.
Yeah.
That was the next step. And I listened to that small voice inside myself, even though I was petrified every single time.
Yeah. We were talking with some of the other guests about money. And if you were on today and you were 20, for example, would that answer be different? We were like, well, we've all determined that we were really aggressive for money in our 20s, yes. Maybe 30s and 40s. And no, I'm just kidding. But, would that answer change?
Well, I think, when you're starting out, obviously you want to be able to pay your own way. At least I did. Yeah. And I couldn't rely on my parents, and I really wanted to rely on myself. So yes, that's like a big thing. Can I make my way in this world? And money is a big piece of that. But I also believe for myself, I've never chased money. Yeah. It has not been, that's not what I was going to determine my success if I was making X number of dollars. It really came down to what I believed in my soul, my values, my principles, that I was following my heart in some respect. So would it have changed? I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm where I am with that thinking, that maybe I could have had it back then also. I really never thought about it. Money was not the driving force for me.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I could say the same in my early 20s. I think I would have done just
exactly. You want to make your own way.
I was pretty much on my own, and trying to go through college full time and school full time, sure. and working full time and things like that. So it was pretty crazy. Okay. So how has the notion of success guided you in making big business and life decisions?
Mm-hmm. I think that it's not just about achieving milestones. And I think that's, again, it was not about money. It was something deep in my soul that made me make those big decisions. So think about that. I left teaching, which is what I was trained to do as an educator, a music educator. And I left that kind of behind, not knowing what I was going to do. Yeah. So I followed my gut. And when I left retail to go into television, I didn't really have any television experience other than one television commercial that I had done when I was Miss Illinois 1979 in the Miss America Scholarship Pageant. So speaking of money, that's how I paid for my education, was all those scholarships that I got. And so when I got into television and I was making the decision to leave television after 28 years, again, I had that feeling deep within my soul. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to strive for success, because I never, ever wanted, as you know, Elizabeth, I never, ever wanted to own my own business. That was not on my radar screen. Yeah. But something was driving me internally. So it wasn't success that helped me make those big life decisions. It was finding the courage and giving myself permission to consider other things.
That's a good answer. That's a lot to think about right there, actually. Can you repeat that last sentence? Giving myself permission.
Giving yourself permission to consider other things. I'm such a firm believer that no matter how happy we are, no matter how successful we are, no matter how much money we may be making, I believe in this day and age, retirement is a very different thing.
Yeah.
Let's stop and ask ourselves, well, what else might I be able to do? What else might I consider doing? What else might I give myself permission to do, even if I have no clue how to do it?
Yeah.
And I also believe, and I've lived this mantra my entire life, just because I've never done something doesn't mean I can't. I just have to try. Now, I've probably been somewhat smart about some of the decisions I've made, but you still have to give yourself permission. And a lot of people don't because, oh, well, I went to school for this, and so I must do that. And responsibilities and life gets in the way. And so you feel like, well, I can't make a change. Yeah. And that might be realistic for some people, but I also want people to stop and think, can I think outside the box?
Yeah. I think the whole book is thinking outside the box. I just got a Publisher's Weekly review that was kind of like that. And I know like when Peter and I were like, okay, we got to get out of here for the winter. We're like, we got to leave because we'd both fallen on the ice. We documented in the Success Guidebook, but we're like, okay, to give yourself permission to do that is a pretty big deal because, life just doesn't stop while you go, sit on a beach in South Carolina for what started at 3 weeks and is now almost 3 months. That's
all I can say.
I know, right? But it took a lot of learning and understanding. And I mean, I got down there the first time. I'm like, I forgot how I'm going to pay the bills again that are back home. Things that you just don't think about. That because some of the bills are programmed to the house phone, and you're like, oh no, just funny things. But giving yourself permission to do other things is a really big deal at any age.
At any age, and don't put the age limit on yourself.
Thank you. No, don't, please.
I mean, I started this business when I was in my mid-50s.
Yep.
So yeah. Don't say, oh well, I'm too old to do such and so. No.
Yeah, I know. I have books coming out. I'm 55. And people, it used to be you were put out to pasture at 40, and I'm like, no, we are not doing that anymore to people. And no. The
pasture is a long way off.
I remember turning 40 going, oh, this is it, huh? No, keep going. All right. Sometimes, we were talking about this a little bit ago on a kind of a personal level, but sometimes we miss our goals or something just doesn't turn out right, or we don't have the amazing success we've imagined, Can you think of a thing that you had to persevere through this type of disappointment in your life? I can just sit back and on my own account and go.
How much time do we have today?
Go. You got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, go.
I'm looking at a quote from my mom right in front of me that says, the goal of living is to be able to absorb all of the pain of life and lose none of the joy. Disappointments are a part of life. We all have them. And certainly professionally, I've had my ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. I mean, if people look at it from the exterior, they say, oh, she's had so much success. Well, yeah, getting from point A to point B to point C to Z has not always been a smooth uphill battle.
Yeah.
There are ebbs and flows. I remember there was one time, what's coming to my mind right now was I was up for a network morning anchor position. And I was very excited about it. And I was up against a Hispanic woman, an African-American woman, and there's Liz, yes. White woman, according to statistics, even though I'm 1/4 Indian from my mother's side.
Yeah.
And the Hispanic woman got the job. And I still wonder to this day, Elizabeth, if my path might have been different if I had changed my name to my mother's maiden name, which was Chaco. If I'd gone by Liz Chaco, would that have changed the trajectory of my television career? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. I still was very fortunate to have 28 wonderful years, but I also still believe on another level, if you want to get really esoteric here, I believe we end up where we're supposed to be. So maybe that was never my destiny, although I certainly dreamed and hoped it would be when I got into television. But
Well, sometimes I think, I agree with you. Like we're right where we're supposed to be, and maybe the other person got the job for a reason that you're
Right.
totally unaware of. Like if you went back and interviewed her and said, you really got the job I really wanted, and at the moment I was really mad, but how are you doing?
Well,
It'd be an
what's funny
interesting
is
conversation.
I don't think she's on television anymore, so I don't know
That's
whatever
probably
happened.
a better conversation, right? It's like, what are you
Right,
doing with that?
right,
How'd that
exactly.
go? How'd that work out for you? But you know what I mean. But
I do.
no, I like the name you have. I do that with my name all the time. I was thinking about writing a blog going, my name is so confused.
Right. I think it rolls off the tongue beautifully. Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino.
So long. It doesn't fit on anything. I'm like, just Elizabeth. Or somebody the other day, somebody called and said, Miss Elizabeth. I'm like, now that's cute.
There you go. You could have a whole new pen name of just Miss Elizabeth for the next set of books.
Yeah. So anyway, but I understand. But yeah, persevering through failure is a bummer. And do you ever have those days where you're like, oh, this is just the worst day ever. I'm just going to go crawl in bed and keep my glasses on with no makeup on and my hair on top of my head and my sweats on. And
Who
we have
does?
those days, right?
I can name about 4 days last week because I had this cold where there was no makeup. I was in my sweats. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I'm drinking my immune tea and my ginger and everything else. Yeah, I didn't want to do anything. And I was like, I have to work. I couldn't even work. I just was like, crawl under a hole.
That's my past 2 days. I'm like sitting here right now, hiding a back injury. I'm like, okay, I can't.
No,
right now, but I've been
bless you for doing this still today.
2 days, but that's reality, and that's the things. I thought about like taking a selfie yesterday, going, I am just wiped out on my back here with a back injury, and I'm like, but those are the things people don't see in social media. I don't know if they need to see them or not even, but those are the things people don't see. So we're persevering through our disappointments and our failures and our setbacks and things like that to be our best. It's life.
That's life, Elizabeth. That's life.
Talk about comprehensive success. So I am huge into, and you know this from life coaching and things like that, huge into comprehensive success, that wheel kind of life, of all the different areas of your life, trying to, I don't know if it's pragmatic or not, but trying to get that as balanced as it can be so that we're not in such pursuit of success that all these other areas fall to the wayside. Do you believe in that? Do you think it's possible? Are you mindful of that? How's that working out? I know, again, if you asked me that question when I was 20, I would have been like, success, and everything else can go away. But
again, I think that changes with your each decade, each chapter, that perspective changes, to your point of when we're in our 20s, it's like, go, 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 go. And I'm not saying I'm not go, 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 go now, but what I am saying is I believe in more harmony, intentional harmony, if at all possible. Is balance possible? That's a whole nother discussion. I do believe that there are ebbs and flows to things, and you do the best to keep that harmony, if you will, of all the things that are in your life. I mean, I wish I knew what the great answer is to answer your question, because I don't know what it is. I think we're all still searching for that. And I believe it's also something that we need to be intentional about, and how we balance and bring into harmony, and how we integrate all these different facets of our lives. And if we can, also then to stay very mindful of where we are with each of those facets, because some days one facet's going to demand more than another. And that's, again, going back to our point just a few moments ago, that's life.
Yeah. I like to sometimes have one that rings through so it touches all the areas. Like I'll be I'm starting to become more and more mindful of my health. Sometimes I've lost touch and whatever, but I'm trying to have health carry through all the areas because I think it's paramount.
And I agree with that 100%, that health is one of those themes, if you will. And another one, because I'm just writing a blog on this right now, is about play.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And how important play is for our brains, for our well-being, for our overall health, mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. And as adults, we let go of play because priorities get in the way, or we're afraid we're going to be judged if we're too silly. I'm always silly. Yeah. So, but I feel like if I can have humor, if I can have laughter, if I can have joy, even in the midst of disappointments, to that quote that I just shared with you, and have play, that's life. Make the most of it. Keep that theme going through everything, work, everything, your family.
Yep, having the laughter and the ability to laugh at yourself and do all that stuff. That was what was so much fun too about having 4 boys, 2
Yes.
years apart, because you just got to, sit around and play trains and Legos all day, rescue heroes and whatever else, and and I miss those days. I'm like, oh, can we just, bring out the Thomas the Trains and we'll
Well, I would imagine.
Operate in their 20s. It doesn't
I would
work.
imagine when they finally have families of their own, you can bring all those train sets out.
Yeah. Oh, we've got them all in bins. I'm like, the toys are the best. And then they won't want them. We'll see.
You never know. You never know.
They're perfectly preserved. Okay. So the last question, how does authenticity and integrity factor into achieving success and maintaining it?
Mm-hmm. I like this question so much because I truly believe both of them are intertwined. Mm-hmm. Authenticity and integrity are intertwined. Without integrity, success really doesn't mean anything. And without authenticity, then do you have integrity? They're so intertwined. And I think when you have both, that's what builds trust. And when you have those two principles and those values, you're going to make good decisions more than likely. You're going to stay true to yourself. And that can be very hard to do at times. And it also, I believe, helps you navigate difficult situations that you may find yourself into. And authenticity and integrity also then can span out, and it's part of your reputation, which speaks to that trust that I just mentioned a moment ago. And when you achieve authenticity and integrity, and success comes from that, there's no question of who you are. Those accomplishments mean something.
Beautifully put.
Mean something.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's beautifully put. All right. Well, is there anything else we missed that you want to talk about?
Well, I think you asked all the questions you wanted to ask. And again, thank you so much for having me be a part of this collection of wonderful stories and suggestions to people about how to, create success in their own lives. And again, it's that definition is your definition. It's your milestone. It's not anybody else's. And if you learn nothing else from this book and from this conversation, it's about you. It's not about anybody else's definition.
Beautiful. How can people find you?
Oh, LizBrunner.com. Thank you for asking. LizBrunner.com. You can find me all over. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. But I'd love for people to just come to the website also and check it out, LizBrunner.com.
All right, perfect. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
Thanks, everybody.